If we could just request all the brothers that have finished their salah to move forward, inshallah. The program will be starting now. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Inshallah, to begin the gathering, like we always do, inshallah, to bless the gathering, we will have some short recitation of the Quran. Inshallah, I'll call Hafiz Hamza, inshallah, who will recite a portion of the Quran. Brothers are requested to, inshallah, pay attention while the recitation is happening.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم واشكروا لله إن كنتم إياه تعبدون. إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل به لغير الله فمن اضطر غير باغ ولا عاد فلا إثم عليه إن الله غفور رحيم. إن الذين يكتمون ما أنزل الله من الكتاب ويشترون به ثمنا قليلا أولئك ما يأكلون في بطونهم إلا النار ولا يكلمهم الله يوم القيامة ولا يزكيهم ولهم عذاب أليم. أولئك الذين اشتروا الضلالة بالهدى والعذاب بالمغفرة فما أصبرهم على النار ذلك بأن الله نزل الكتاب بالحق وإن الذين اختلفوا في الكتاب لفي شقاق بعيد. صدق الله العظيم.
MashaAllah, Jazakallah to Hafiz Sab for that. Before we inshallah start the program, we'd just like to remind the brothers that whenever we take part in any of these gatherings, we should have two intentions. The first is that we are sitting here in order to educate ourselves for ilm. We are sitting here in search of ilm, so that whatever we hear inshallah throughout the program, it will increase us in our knowledge of the deen. And the second thing is that once we get that knowledge, then we do amal. We practice upon whatever it is that we learn, inshallah. And through this, we will gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we will excel in our deen. So alhamdulillah, we will have our speaker, Maulana Moosa, Desai, who's come from Preston. Maulana Mohsin has also come, inshallah, they will both be speaking. MashaAllah, Maulana Moosa has founded the organization Preston Halal Awareness. And since then, mashallah, he's given a lot of talks around Preston and also surrounding areas as well on the topic of halal awareness, how we should be careful when it comes to eating halal, making sure that the food that we eat, especially the meat and chicken, is halal. So Alhamdulillah, he's come here today to speak to us, to educate us. So we'd like to thank Maulana on behalf of the Masjid for coming and allowing us to benefit from his research, from his time. MashaAllah, a lot of time has gone into these presentations, these projects. So inshallah, we will benefit a lot from Maulana. So we'd like to extend our gratitude to him and Maulana Mohsin also for coming. Jazakumullah khairan. Inshallah, we'll start the program.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس كلوا مما في الأرض حلالا طيبا ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين صدق الله العظيم وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الحلال بين والحرام بين وبينهما أمور مشتبهات أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Dear respected brothers, elders, ulama kiram and respected sisters listening at home, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First and foremost, I would just like to say a big jazakumullahu khairan to the brothers that organized this session for myself and Maulana Mohsin to come and deliver this very important topic, which is unfortunately ignored by many in our localities, is so important, especially based on the authentic ahadith that we have in front of us in terms of the warnings that have been given to us with regards to consuming haram food. And also a big jazakumullahu khairan to the masjid for hosting us. Before I continue, I see a lot of youngsters at the back, so I like to request all the youngsters, come on, you're not old men, you're not old guys. I'm sure you can come forward and join the gathering, inshallah. The gathering will be blessed a lot more, inshallah. So if you can come a little bit forward, inshallah, we'll build a bit more unity in the masjid. We're one, yeah? Alhamdulillah. We're all brothers. So, what we'll do, I'm going to run through the agenda so you know exactly what we're going to cover. Might be easier if I stand actually. This is everything that we are going to cover today. It could take roughly around an hour. So the goal isn't to bore you to death. It's to have an informal discussion amongst friends, just to try and open your minds up, be open to thinking differently, and this is purely an information session for you to be able to think differently when it comes to buying and consuming halal food. So we'll go over the objectives, we'll look at evidences in Quran and Ahadith, impacts of spiritual well-being, the key concepts, governing principles, essential fit criteria. So in terms of the different methods of slaughter, what is considered halal, what is considered haram, what's kind of in between, challenges with halal monitoring bodies in the UK, limitations of generic certification, unethical practices, and the one that I'm most excited to discuss is number 11, which is present halal awarenesses, first-hand experience on the ground, the conversation that we have. You know, many people talk about the food industry, but many people don't have experience talking to takeaway owners, restaurant owners, butchers and stuff, etc. We have, me and Maulana Mohsin, alhamdulillah, we spent a lot of time on the ground speaking to a lot of people. And what we found is, I just find it to be very troubling and very worrying with regards to how little care there is in the food industry. And this is the goal today, right? We want to expose the corruption and we want to discuss practical steps moving forward, which is the last point. Moving on. So the objective today is to educate the Muslim community about the corruption in the food industry and enabling consumers like yourself to make informed decisions when you are buying halal meat, right? You need to do more than just going into a takeaway or a restaurant or a butcher and saying to them, are you halal? Obviously the person on the other side of the counter is going to say, yes. What kind of a silly question is that? We are halal. But we're going to, towards the end, we're going to be covering what specific questions you need to ask. So in the Quran, as I mentioned at the beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, Ya ayyuhan nasu kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. That all people eat permissible good things out of that which lies in the earth. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the word halal. In the Arabic language, the root word for halal is hil, al-hil, right? And linguistically, what this means is to open a knot. So when it is said to consume halal food, it literally means that a knot has been opened, a restriction has been lifted. And the second word that is used is tayyiban. So this is a word that is used. Tayyiban basically means good food. Food that is free from harmful substances, which is ethically sourced, and is good for you to eat. Is good for you to eat. Now, just wanted to quickly touch upon this ahadith. You know, nowadays we get many people that say, you know, they go to their local imams, they go to their spiritual doctors or their guide, and they say to them that, you know, Maulana, I'm praying my salah, I'm good to my parents, I'm obedient, I'm good to my neighbors. I do everything that a practical Muslim should do. But I just feel that there's a barrier in my heart. I feel like there's a barrier in my iman and my connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This could solely be to the reason, to the fact that you might not be eating halal food. If you eat anything and everything that says the word halal on it, that could be the problem, which we'll go into a little bit further. Which brings me on to the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ mentions about a man that is traveling and he's disheveled and he puts his hands up into the sky and he says, Ya Rabb, that, oh Lord, oh Lord. But his food is haram, his drink is haram, and his clothing is haram. So how can his du'as be accepted? Right? That's a clear indication that if someone consumes haram food, it is a direct barrier between their spirituality and their connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's just one thing to ponder on. These are other ahadith, and you know, you can have a read of it yourself. And you know, one thing that really comes to mind is another ahadith where it is mentioned that the one who consumes haram food and is nourished by haram, his ibadah and worship will not be accepted for 40 days. And the part of his body that is nourished by haram food, he will be punished for that in the hereafter. The warnings are very clear, and I'm not here to scare you. I'm just here to give you reminders with regards to what is mentioned in Quran and Ahadith. Ruling regarding consuming doubtful food. Okay? So, what is the ruling? How do you deal with food that is potentially doubtful? Okay? Al-halalu bayyinun wal-haramu bayyinun wa baynahuma umur mushtabihat. So this is a hadith from Prophet ﷺ, which he mentions, that which is lawful is clear, that which is unlawful is clear, and between them are certain doubtful things. So anything where you might not be 100% sure on whether that's halal or haram, it is better to show precaution and not eat from it. Because I promise you that tasty, spicy dip burger in that moment is not worth your akhirah. Right? And the other hadith that's mentioned, دَعْ مَا يُرِيبُكْ إِلَى مَا لَا يُرِيبُكْ. Leave that which puts you in doubt, and do that in which you have no doubt. So it's very clear. Stay away from doubtful things. And I mentioned this already, the effects on spirituality. the effects are very, very severe. These are some important concepts and principles that we need to understand. Before we discuss the whole halal, haram topic, we need to understand these certain principles, right? Al-aslu fil ashya' al-ibaha, which is just part of the saying, but just to summarize, what it means is in Islam, originally, all things are permissible unless they are proven to be unlawful. However, in the case with meat, it's different. It is lawful until it is proven to be halal. So, if you are a takeaway owner, and I approach your food outlet, and I ask you certain questions with regards to whether you are halal or not, you cannot get defensive as a owner of a restaurant or a takeaway. Because at the end of the day, you are the one that is selling halal food, okay? And you need to prove it to me, not the other way around. It's not that I'm doubting you as a Muslim brother. I have nothing against you as a Muslim brother. But based on the corruption in the food industry, there are certain questions that, need to be answered. So the mentality has to change, especially within takeaways. I understand in some takeaways, based on business reasons, they may not want to discuss certain suppliers, and I completely understand all that. But enough information should be provided to the consumer for them to make more informed decisions. Before we move on to anything with relation to what is considered to be the different methods of slaughter, what we need to understand are the basics. What is the simple ruling for something to be considered halal to eat? And it's three very simple points. The slaughterman must be a Muslim, a sharp blade must be used, and tasmiyah must be recited on the animal at the time of slaughter, and 3 to 4 veins or vessels must be cut from that animal. Okay, are we clear on that? So the slaughterman must be a Muslim, the sharp blade must be used, tasmiyah, bismillahi, Allahu Akbar must be recited, and 3 to 4 veins must be cut. Very simple. It's a very simple process. Due to the increase in production with regards to poultry and meat, this is why there are so many different methods of slaughter to try and streamline a business and to try and make it more efficient. But the problem with trying to make your business more efficient and streamline the process as quickly as they can is that businesses tend to leave a lot of holes with their production. And this is what we want to try and discuss today, inshallah. So, what are the different methods of slaughter? There's many, right? These are the ones we are going to focus on today, the main ones. So you could call it a bit of a league table. At the top of the league table, we've got unstunned hand slaughter. So, like it was mentioned before, it follows this criteria. Yeah? There's no stunning. So for those of you who aren't aware what stunning is when animals are electrocuted through a variety of methods to render them unconscious at the time of slaughter. Okay? We'll cover that. So we have unstunned hand slaughtered, then we have stunned hand slaughtered, then we have mechanical slaughter, then we have gas stunned to kill. Okay? So the first one, unstunned hand slaughter, there's no stunning, right? There's no method here to try and slow that animal down. It follows a simple criteria for something to be considered halal. Slaughterman carefully severs 3 to 4 key vessels, ensuring that the blood is fully drained after it. Okay? This method, just normal hand slaughter, no stunning, is unanimously recognized by the ulama. Yeah? So across all ulama, there is no debate. Right? Unstunned, hand slaughtered meat. There is no debate. All the ulama are unanimous on that point. Then we have stunned, hand slaughtered. Okay? You know, one of my main goals and objectives for today, it's not even to discuss this. This is minor when it comes to mechanical and it comes to gas stunned, because these are clear-cut haram. I just wanted to highlight that. So, stunning, as you can see, there's a lot of information there, and I did try to get the image from Google. Don't know how clear that is. But just to give you an overview of what stunning is, or I'll give you an example of a method that is used across the UK. So one method that is used is called water bath stunning. So this is where in a slaughterhouse, you have chickens that are dangling upside down, and they are held on by their feet with metal shackles. They move down the chain, and then they approach a tub that is electrocuted, that is hot water. There's a voltage that's running through it. So as it passes through, the head is dipped into that water. Animal comes back up, goes towards the end of the line. At that point, is ready for slaughter. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether that's halal or haram. The only condition, remember the condition, at the time of slaughter, the animal has to be alive, right? I am just here, I'm going to point out a few of the risks that you have with this method. Sometimes the voltage can be too high, which can then cause the chicken to die, okay? Potentially, yeah? The other times what can happen is it's unclear at the time of slaughter whether an animal is actually dead or if it's unconscious, right? They say that, they carry out checks on chickens. So at the end of that line, what they'll do before they slaughter, they'll drop the chicken on the ground and they'll give the chicken a minute to regain consciousness, okay? But that's not something that they do on kind of every chicken. So as I mentioned, one of the risks is that animals may die as a result of the voltage that is used. Other times what happens is some of the chickens are malnourished or they are physically weak. So even if they go through a normal low voltage, you could say, they're still at a high risk of death because, again, the chicken is not healthy enough. Okay? As I mentioned, it's difficult to verify that every chicken remains alive at the time of slaughter. And one thing just to bear in mind with stunned chicken as well is due to the stress that chicken goes through, it releases a stress hormone that can sometimes also affect the quality of meat. I asked Mufti Shabri Sahib, for those of you who know of him, Shaykh al-Hadith, directly myself. I said, Mufti Sahib, what's the answer? Can we eat stunned? Can we not eat stunned? It's jaiz, but he said haruni kiwai. It's causing taklif to the animal. That's what it is. That's all it is. But the problem that we have is, if I'm right with my statistics, in the UK, I think we make up at least 5% of the population, but our consumption of meat and chicken is at about 40%. And with regards to poultry, it's at 20%. We eat so much meat and chicken, there's nothing wrong with that, but the slaughterhouses are struggling to keep up with the demand. So to quicken the process, that's why the stunning is involved. So that's just a few things to bear in mind with regards to stunning. Mechanical slaughter. To simply put it, this is a process where you have one man on a machine, there's a blade, one blade on the machine. Slaughterman is at the beginning, is at the front of the machine, presses a button, chickens are dangling upside down. As soon as he presses the button, one by one, each chicken goes through that blade. One after the other, they're all staggered. Okay? Clear on that with regards to how it works? Few problems that we have with this method is that number one generic tasmiyah is recited before every chicken is staggered and slaughtered. So if I've said Bismillah Allahu Akbar once, click of a button, that's 100 chickens that have been slaughtered, right? And the ruling is that Bismillah Allahu Akbar has to be recited upon every chicken. That's in a nutshell, that's how it is. There's no system where it's on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Let's just say, for argument's sake, this method of slaughter was considered halal. Let's just say, for argument's sake. We still have problems. Because number one, if you remembered, with regards to what is considered halal, you have to cut 3 to 4 veins from the animal's throat. With mechanical slaughter, there is no guarantee how many veins are being cut. Because what you have to understand is, at the time of slaughter, when an animal is hand slaughtered, the slaughterman very carefully has to hold the chicken in place, get the knife, cut it. Here the chickens are flapping, they're dangling. So there's no guarantee, right? Sometimes the full head gets chopped off from that blade. That doesn't render the chicken haram, but is makruh tahrimi. It's highly kind of disliked. The other issue that we have is with regards to points left my mind. But in a nutshell, that is mechanical slaughter. So this method, according to our ulama, is deemed as haram. Some might even argue that the first chicken might be considered halal, because Bismillah Allahu Akbar is recited on the first chicken. So you could say the first one is halal, the rest are completely haram. Now these products are predominantly frozen imports from Europe, and they're so common in our local shops. The products that we're talking about here we're not talking about something that's distant away. I promise you, you will probably find these type of products in majority of our local superstores, unfortunately. And that's a whole separate issue in itself with regards to owners and the education and the ignorance that is shown. We've been given proof, and we've seen products that have been sold in Preston that are mechanically slaughtered. And the Muslim community, no none the wiser. We are just eating anything and everything that say halal. We don't question anything, which is again a big problem. Last method I'm going to mention is gas stunning. In particular, gas stun to kill. So what this process is that you place hundreds of chickens in large crates. You stack them on top of one another, and then you wheel them in gas chambers. They close the door. Oxygen is removed from the air, and Allah jane what chemicals are input in the container. Sometimes carbon dioxide is put into the container, and within a matter of minutes, these animals are completely dead, right? Through suffocation. And I actually did request Imam Sahib if I can show the video, but I think it's too explicit to show in a masjid setting, but it's not comfortable to watch. Me and Mawlana Mohsin, we a takeaway in Preston, and there was an individual who worked for that takeaway for 10 years, and he was the distributor. So he used to buy and sell, a majority buying products from abroad. And he was just curious with regards to one of the products, and he wanted to find out what the method of slaughter was for that product. So he rang abroad, I think it was Holland, spoke to one Muslim, and they all give you the same answer. Brother, can you tell me what the method of slaughter is? Brother, we follow Islamic principles. Everyone follows Islamic principles. What does that mean? You get your kind of wishy-washy answers. He rang the second brother, gave the same answer. Rang the third brother, gave the same answer. Then he got through to a non-Muslim who has no connection to the Muslim community. He works for the company, but he's not bothered whether something is halal or haram. And he said, yeah, all these chickens are gas stunned, and they all die within the process. Just last night I was watching a video by One Path Network. They're a kind of news agency I think based in Australia. They released a video, I think it was 2 years ago, And within that video, the interviewer was interviewing a slaughterman from a slaughterhouse in Australia that actually used gas stunning, right? And this obviously says gas stun to kill, but there are, you could say, Muslim slaughterhouses across the UK that try to do it in a halal manner, right? So this slaughterhouse claimed that we use gas stunning, but all the chickens are alive at the time of slaughter. And in that video, they didn't disclose that individual's identity, the slaughterman, but he revealed that I would say at least, as a minimum, 70% of the chickens that are being slaughtered are dead and being sold to the Muslim community. And I remember when this video came out, it's like you watch it, goes in one, out the other. There's a lot we can do locally, but again, this is just to shed light on another method of slaughter. So you have unstunned hand slaughter, then you have stunned hand slaughter. So remember, stunned hand slaughter is not haram for you to consume. There has to be strict protocols in place for that to be considered halal. I personally have yet to see that work in the UK. It's not to say that it can't work, but I've not seen a system that does work. And then you have mechanical slaughter, which is unlawful, and then gas stun to kill, which is also unlawful. So these are just some news articles I was researching last night, and I thought it would be good to mention it in the gathering. So in October 2020, Asian Express reported that although Muslims make up around 5.1% of the UK population, they consume approximately 46% of poultry. Footage showed cheap non-halal chicken being offloaded at night and distributed across major UK cities, some with fake European health labels. And apparently this happened especially during COVID time, where there was a lack of local supply for poultry and meat, and a lot of Muslim owners were buying from abroad. Knowing that the method of slaughter that was used for these products were completely haram, yet no bother. Because why? At the end of the day, it's all about money. It's all about business. What is going to make me the most profit, rather than think about what's going to be most profitable for my iman in the hereafter. In November 2024, a viral video exposed a halal food outlet at the Trafford Centre selling pork products. So I think this video went viral on TikTok 2 years ago. I don't know if did anyone come across that video? No? So it was a shop in the Trafford Centre claiming to sell halal, but the menu clearly states they're selling pork. Yeah? And Muslims are still eating from there. No, you could say, no bother about the cross-contamination that could potentially take place. Thirdly, BBC News revealed a case of fake halal meat sold to restaurants. 2,840 kilograms was seized from a Cardiff warehouse due to lack of traceability and hygiene breaches. The seller was jailed. So in the UK, just for you to understand, it's not a legal requirement for you to sell halal, but it is against the law for you to mislead your consumers. If you are selling something, you need to make sure that you're staying within those guidelines. Yeah, that case is absolutely disgusting. And when you read that news article, after this, Google that, read up the article, and look at the reaction of the individual's customers. Yeah? They're all probably, mashallah, 5-time namazi, God conscious. And for them to know that they have potentially been buying from a haram seller is absolutely ridiculous. January 2025, the ham sandwich scandal in Malaysia highlighted the misuse of fake halal certification logos. So this was just another scandal of an organization that claimed to sell halal food, yet they were selling haram. December 2025, Hyphen, which I believe is a online news blog, reported 44 allegations to the Food Standards Agency regarding falsely represented meat described as the tip of the iceberg. So I think from those 44 allegations, there were at least 11 related to halal food, related to people reporting organizations that stated they are selling halal, but they're not selling halal. And the last one was the video I just mentioned. The One Path Network investigated, investigation viewed over, the video was viewed over 2.1 million times, alleged gas stunning practices in a major slaughterhouse with whistleblowers claiming chickens were dead prior to slaughter yet certified as halal. So this is part of the wider corruption. And this isn't just the problems that we see, it's not just in the UK. It happens everywhere. And the way that I see it is that there's a lack of education from the fiqhi side of things, from an operational side of things, and kind of what happens on the ground, inshallah. So I will pass it over to Mullah Mohsin, who will continue on the presentation, inshallah. He gets in there. Mashallah. That was a nice hug, that. Mashallah. I'll pass it on to you. I've got a chair. I forgot to tell you about the pointer. Yes, you had it on.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما. Alhamdulillah, my respected brothers and elders, Maulana Moosa has mentioned the most important part of the presentation, and I've just come to add my 2 pence worth. The most important thing is that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the understanding of deen. Yeah? I'm just going to go a bit off topic because I like talking like that. One dua of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'ah. So many people I see, it's as clear as daylight. Yeah? They know it's wrong. Yeah? They know. They can see it's wrong. Yeah? They even understand it's wrong. Yeah? But their nafs doesn't get the tawfiq to stay away from what's wrong. Yeah? They know this is right. Yeah? They can see it's right. They understand it's right as well. But they will not get the tawfiq to follow what's right. That's why it's important we always make this dua. Our Ustad, Hazrat Mufti Ibrahim Raja Sahib, Damat Barakatuhum, he told us this dua when we were studying in Mishkat in 2010. Yeah, 15 years from, that was 15 years ago. Now you can imagine the corruption and the trials and tribulations as a ummah we are facing are increasing. So he said we should always make this dua, Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'ah. Oh Allah, show us what is truth as truth, and not only that, give us the ability to follow it. And show us what is wrong as wrong, and give us the tawfiq to stay away from it. Yeah? So now moving on with the topic that we have been discussing, some of the experiences that we have come across in the past 1 year is that many of the organizations, they purchase products which are from suppliers which also process pork. Now I'll give you first-hand experience. Okay, yeah. So we visited a big supermarket in Preston. I think it's probably going to come later on the slide, but I'll mention it now. And we stood there for nearly 1 hour, me and Mona. And we didn't intend to go there. They called us that come and have a look. And they try to convince us that all the products we buy, yeah, are from a certain slaughterhouse in Preston, known as Gafoor. We all know of this, yeah? So they try to convince us for nearly an hour, yeah, that this is our supplier. Yeah, 99.9% of our products come from this slaughterhouse. Yeah, they showed us all the invoices, they showed us all the orders that they do on the phone messages, and we asked them X, Y, and Z. And just before we were about to leave, Maulana suggested, yeah, that I go and visit the cold room at the back. So I went with the owner to the cold room. I saw, mashallah, the lamps, some of them are HMC. We saw the boxes from Gafoor Poultry. And in the corner, I saw a pile of some other boxes. And he said, this is the product which is not from the slaughterhouse. So I had a quick look at it. I took a photo of the label. And I'm sure any of you can do this. Just go home and Google it. Yeah? It was a company literally within Preston, 12 miles away from Preston, known as DPS, Direct Poultry Services, if I can remember correctly.
Direct poultry supply.
Yeah, Direct Poultry Supply. Yeah? Quick Google search, yeah, English company, and that doesn't make it haram, yeah? I'm not saying it's haram. Did all the products they manage on that site, yeah, from one of the products they manage is pork. Now you can imagine, the same site they're processing pork, the same site they're processing poultry, beef, and this has come into Preston, yeah, into a Muslim Asian superstore where our people are buying their products from. Yeah. Now there's two things here. Yeah, there's two things here. One thing is, if the public was to ask the owner of the superstore or the person serving at the butcher's counter, they will say our items are from Gafoor. Yeah, we buy from Gafoor. So what are they doing here? What are they doing to the public? They are deceiving them. Yeah, anybody will tell you they're deceiving them. Yeah. Now, secondly, another thing which is even more astonishing, after 2 weeks, I thought it's my responsibility to go and tell him that this is the research we've done, and you should not be buying from this place. So I went to him and said, look, this is the information we found, so I don't think you should buy your drumsticks from this place. So his reply was even more astonishing, what he told me. He said, I didn't know it comes from there. I buy from a third person, yeah, who's from Bolton. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you the name. He said, I buy from X person, yeah. For example, Ahmad Bhai, yeah, that's not his real name. But he said, I buy from Ahmad. And so now I will tell Ahmad Bhai, don't get my drumsticks from there, get it from somewhere else. So you can imagine the attitude of the superstore owner, that I'm not gonna, now I've learned my lesson, I'm gonna be more cautious, I'm gonna ask him where he gets it from. His answer was, I will tell Ahmad Bhai, don't get it from there, get it from somewhere else. Yeah? So this is our situation. Yeah? We're not bothered. Some of the superstore, I'm not saying all of them, yeah, but some of them, many of them, they're not bothered where the products come from. They're not bothered what they're feeding you. They're not bothered what they're feeding us. Yeah? Whether it's supermarkets, whether it's takeaways, whether it's restaurants, they just want their product, they want it to be cheap, and that's it. Okay, yeah, so as you can see here, yeah, that's the one we mentioned. Number 3, this is our incident with that supermarket, yeah, that superstore. Also, we've had reports, yeah, that people who are delivering beef or they're delivering lamb in Preston, the same van drivers, the same people that are delivering that, they're also delivering pork using the same vehicles, and it's being processed in the same place. So you can understand the cross-contamination that takes place while handling this meat, while handling the poultry, whether it's chicken, beef, lamb, whatever it is. Yeah? There's cross-contamination taking place, and there's very, very likely that if somebody is handling pork or haram stuff, that is going to come inside the items that we are being fed. Okay, now moving on.
Mullah, just to add to that last point, just because you mentioned the Muslim abattoir owner, which I think is interesting. So this brother reached out to us as he liked the work that we were doing. And he's got an insight that majority, 99% of Muslims will never have. He buys, the animals whilst they're alive at auctions, and he's the only Muslim at these auctions. Everyone else, they're all non-Muslims. And he said, do you know what he said to us? He said that, do you know, as Muslims, we're a laughing stock in front of the non-Muslims. And I said, what makes you say that? He said, we claim that we're very strict, we're very religious, but we eat anything that has a halal sticker. And one point that I just wanted to mention is that he said one of the people that he regularly sees mentions that I have a unit where we process pork and also halal, but they say we have separate stations. And then he mentioned, I've got one Muslim worker that slaughters the halal meat. But when he's not there, I become Abdul for the day. And I just read, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. And he was joking around. And the funny thing is it's just, this is the state of our Muslim ummah. We don't know what happens behind the scenes. And we eat anything and everything. Back to you, Moosa.
Okay. So just a quick question to the audience. How many halal monitoring boards are there in the UK? Anybody want to take a guess?
Take a guess, come on. What about the young kids? Take a guess. Pick a random number.
Everybody know what a monitoring board is? Yeah? Somebody will give you a certification to say that this shop or this takeaway is providing halal meat. Yeah? So how many of these monitoring boards are there in the UK? Huh? 10, okay. Not quite.
Bit higher.
2. Okay, it's very far away. 25, very, very close. Okay, yeah? So any of the elders want to take a guess? There's about 24 monitoring boards that are registered, yeah, to somewhat extent. Now, the problem is, if I want to open a monitoring board tomorrow, I can open one tomorrow as well. There's no one to question me. Now, what are my criterias? How thorough are my investigations? How thorough is my checking? There's no one to question me. Yeah? So that is where our problem lies. Yeah? So there are approximately 24 halal certification bodies operating in the UK. Yeah? The biggest problem we have is there is no regularity barrier preventing anyone from establishing a halal monitoring organization. Yeah? So the framework is non-existent. Yeah? It's very poor. Any organization, for example, if a person wants to become an accountant, yeah, I work in HMRC, so I have an idea. People know. They become more and more strict. If a person wants to become an accountant, he has to apply for the AML, anti-money laundering certification. Every single year they've got to renew that certification. If they fail to, they'll lose their license. Yeah? They'll lose that license. In the same way, any organization in the UK, yeah, if a person wants a license, if a person wants to be a solicitor, he's got to have a license to be a solicitor. Yeah? But sadly, if a person wants to run a halal certification organization, there's no one to question. Yeah? Tomorrow we can have 10 more, we can have 35, we can have 50 in the next 5 years. So the question is, which one of these holds some authority? That's what we need to ask ourselves. Yeah, generic information is often provided with limited transparency around standards, process, and enforcement. There is no unified governing body. Many halal monitoring bodies lack adequate organization structure. Now, I'll give you an example. From these 24, yeah, how many do you think have a group or staff of more than 50? How many do you think have staff more than 50 from these 24? Huh? 2. Huh? 1. Okay, yeah? So it's in the single digits, maybe a couple, yeah? Maybe a couple. I've not exactly done the research on the number of employees for some of these monitoring boards, but I'll give you an example. Okay, now the next 3 points are very important. During Preston Halal Awareness voluntary monitoring work, sources indicated that some operators were prepared to produce and issue fake certificates to deter scrutiny. Yeah? So Maulana will highlight this because this was first-hand experience with himself. Yeah? He went to a takeaway and he questioned, where do you get your meat from? So this is the answer they gave. Yeah?
Yeah, so we organized a meeting with a very big takeaway in Preston, and we mentioned, we don't force anyone. We asked them if you're happy for us to volunteer and start monitoring you, because at that time there was no certification body in Preston where people could find trust in. After we had a few conversations and a few meetings, he then mentioned that one of his suppliers said, don't worry about them PHA lot, I'll print you out a fake certificate tomorrow, get them off your back. That's how easy it is. I can literally go on Microsoft Word right now, create a fake certificate, and no one will check it. Because when it's a Friday night, you've had a long week, you're starving, you've gone to a takeaway to get food, Mrs. is edgy, kids are crying. The last thing you're going to do is stand there for an hour and ask him all these questions. You don't have the time. So if you think about it logically, you don't have the time to do it. And as Mohsin mentioned before with regards to the halal certification bodies, you could say at the top of the league table we have HMC, right? Which many people know, which Mullah will go into on the next slide. And then you have other organizations like HFA. My problem with majority of certification bodies is that they have no monitoring system. They're auditing companies. So you go to them, they give you a certificate, they'll come check your slaughterhouse once, and that's it. Or they might check every 3 months. And it's not good enough. And when we did our voluntary monitoring, we came across so many lies. What we used to do is we used to say to them, tell us where your beef, chicken, and lamb comes from. We'll try to verify it as best as we can through, and remember, we're all working full time. This is just completely voluntary. We'll ring all the suppliers. We'll try to organize meetings with them. And then once we're satisfied, we used to put it on a flow chart. So the chicken is from here, bought from here to here to here. Same for beef, chicken. And then at the bottom, we used to say that, do your own due diligence. Don't just rely on this. Once we put information out about one takeaway, a week later, HMC rang us and they said, oh no, they say that they buy beef from us, which is HMC. I think it was beef or lamb, one of the two. They don't buy HMC beef or lamb from us. And the reason why they lied to us is because Preston Halal Awareness had a little bit of hype where the community were listening to what we were saying. If you say to eat from here, they'll eat from here. So from a business perspective, they were ready to lie and ready to make as much money as they can. And at that point, I couldn't sleep. I genuinely could not sleep knowing that the public were eating something and it could be inaccurate. So, yeah.
Okay. So this point over here, yeah? There's many organizations, we try to contact them in the sense that what is your process? Yeah, because they're not very clear. Yeah, what's your process of monitoring? You're saying you're a monitoring board, it says in your name. What is your process of monitoring? So with the emails, they gave some wishy-washy answers, your standard, we promote non-stunning, but we also allow stunning. And Maulana questioned them on a phone call, that what is your process of inspection? Yeah, so they said after COVID, yeah, we do inspection. What's happened everything after COVID? Everything's gone? Online, yeah? So he said we do inspection online. Yeah, that's what they do. We do inspection online. Okay, and so that should ring alarm bells straight away. Somebody with some common sense will come to the conclusion that this organization is a joke. In the sense, they're not monitoring. Yeah, they can be an auditing company. Yeah, they can come every 6 months and check, this is your process, we're taking off. This is your process, we've checked it, we've audited it. But monitoring is something else. Yeah? Monitor is that you regularly, you monitor the process, which most of these organizations don't do. Okay? Now moving on to the next slide, what is the issue we face with generic certification? Yeah, in many cases, certification applies only to the supplier, not the food outlet itself, yet this distinction is often unclear to consumers. Okay? So if I have a takeaway and my supplier is Muhammad Poultry, for example, yeah, and I have a certificate from Muhammad Poultry saying that Muhammad Poultry's process has been checked by a certain ulama, and I've got that certificate in my shop. Muhammad Poultry cannot give you guarantee that my takeaway only buys from Muhammad Poultry. Yeah? There's no guarantee. I could be buying from Muhammad Poultry, but only 20% of my stock, only 30% of my stock, only 40% of my stock. Yeah? Generic certificates can give the impression that the entire premises is certified, and that same point that I've mentioned, that all the products are sourced from a single approved supplier. This has led to reputed issues observed with butchers and Prestons. For example, I could be buying my fillets from Muhammad Poultry, I could be buying my wings, chickens, everything from Muhammad Poultry, but like I said, I could be buying my drumsticks from somewhere else. Yeah? So again, we're not giving clear picture to the public. Okay, now only HMC certification clearly indicates that all products within a food outlet meet HMC standards. Yeah, there's only one certification board that we have come across. If anybody knows others, then they can please inform us. We'd love to know. They will certify a shop saying that all the products in this shop, meat, chicken, lamb, beef, they are all HMC certified. They will give you that assurance. This is the only one certification board. Yeah? Another thing which we came across, we went to a butcher in Preston, certification practices often rely on historic sign-offs by scholars, in some cases dating back 20 to 30 years. So we went into one butcher within our local area, and they said, oh, I've got a certificate for this abattoir. Yeah, my lamb comes from here. That was dated in 2003, was it? If I can recall correctly. Signature of 3 ulama, yeah, 3 of the imams at that time, yeah, of the local masajid, and yeah, they're happy with that certificate from 2003. The ulama probably never visited the abattoir in the last 10, 15 years, yeah, or have they even ever visited it since then? Yeah, much has changed over 20 years. So we cannot be relying on something which is 20 years outdated. We wouldn't rely on it for our worldly matters. Yeah, why are we going to rely on it for our dini matters? Serious concern arises regarding how scholars can approve certifications without conducting regular on-site inspections. Yeah, so one of the monitoring boards, if I can recall correctly, one of our volunteers, they rang them and they said, I think it was an email or a phone call, they said that one of the imams or one of the ulama, they visit the site often. So we asked them, what is often? Yeah? So if I can recall correctly, maybe once every 2 months, yeah? In some cases, once every 6 weeks, yeah? And that's just once, yeah? So now they can do anything for 2 months, yeah? And when the alim or the imam turns up, everything can be fine, yeah? And then that's it, they've been signed off. Certificates are typically renewed on an annual basis with little to no conscious monitoring throughout the year. Like I said, the auditing companies, not monitoring companies. Okay. Now, some very important questions here, yeah? Time is very less. I want to ideally wrap it up in the next 10, 15 minutes. So now, this is where the most important point is, that a person will question a takeaway not being HMC. So if you were to see a takeaway on Dean Road or on Wigan Road, and it's not HMC, does that mean that takeaway is haram? No. Oh, alhamdulillah. Yeah, that's how it should be. Yeah? That doesn't mean that takeaway is haram. Yeah? But now the question is, yeah, consumer confidence is key factor. Yeah? So now how are you going to convince yourself that this takeaway, everything he is selling in this takeaway is halal? Yeah, there's no HMC. How are you gonna convince yourself? Go on, somebody tell me. In 60 seconds, in 1 minute. Can somebody tell me? How are you gonna convince yourself? That you go to a takeaway on a Saturday night, you want to eat a burger, yeah? And it's not Shake Bees, it's not, Colorado's, yeah? It's none of these two that are HMC. Yeah, there are many more, okay? How are you going to convince yourself that I want to buy a burger from this takeaway? How is it going to be halal? Yeah? Can anybody convince themselves?
Mala, can I just mention,
Yeah.
so for those of you who aren't aware, so I'd be shocked if you aren't aware what HMC are, but for those of you who aren't aware, HMC advocate for unstunned hand slaughter. They are the only certification body in the UK that only advocate for unstunned hand slaughter. A lot of the other ones also accept stunning, but yet the process is kind of wishy-washy. And the point that Mullah made before as well with regards to the lack of monitoring by other certification boards, especially at slaughterhouses. One thing you have to understand is back in the 80s and the 90s, or the late 90s, when the slaughtermen were in slaughterhouses, they weren't praying tasmiyah, they were smoking, they were swearing, they were talking. And as I mentioned before, it's a criteria for you to recite tasmiyah on every chicken. And with HMC, it's very difficult because you can't listen to someone pray tasmiyah on every chicken on a daily basis. But what they do is they get the slaughtermen to sign weekly declarations reminding them about their responsibility. They monitor butchers 4 times a week. They monitor takeaways 4 times a week. There's traceability. There's a barcode that they use to track that process. Now, honestly, if there was anything better out there, I would say it. Yeah, because I know whenever HMC is mentioned, it sometimes ruffles people up, and for whatever reason. But everyone that loves to debate, loves saying they're like this and they're like that. What's the solution? No one wants to give a solution. Everyone wants to give problems and not the solution. So if you think there's a problem with the current solution, I promise you the people at HMC are more than willing and more than happy. I'll put you in contact with them directly. If you see something wrong with the obviously they're not going to be perfect. No organization is going to be perfect. But if you see something wrong and you think something can be improved, flag it. See what can be done. Instead of sitting around in circles and gossiping and just saying they're like this and they're like that. So, let's find solutions. Let's find a way working forward. Sorry, Mawlana.
Yeah, no, Jazakallah for that, Mullah. So very quickly, yeah, inshallah, I know everybody's with the time, inshallah. I'll try and wrap it up quickly. But so now there's 2 things. One is the criteria, which Mullah mentioned. HMC's criteria is the highest criteria, yeah? Non-stunned and hand-slaughtered, yeah? And secondly is the monitoring, yeah? Both things are very robust, and if there's anything which is more better, we'd be happy to welcome that and inshallah promote it, yeah? So HMC monitor is present from the slaughterhouse throughout the full operation, so in the abattoirs, when the lambs are getting slaughtered, in the poultries where the chickens are getting slaughtered, the HMC inspectors are there, they're doing talqeen, they're reminding the slaughtermen to pray tasmiyah. They regularly check the outlets, so they regularly check the butchers, yeah? So from the slaughterhouse it comes to the butchers, they check the butchers and the butcher is only buying from the HMC slaughterhouse, yeah? He's only buying HMC products, yeah? And then they also check the takeaways that buy from the slaughterhouse directly or from the butchers, yeah? Strong systems of traceability and accountability are maintained across the supply chain. So spot checks minimum 4 times a week, yeah? They check invoices, they check the storage, yeah? And many a times HMC have found that people trying to cheat the system, like always. The system in place, people try to cheat the system, that's why people get revoked, yeah? It's not because HMC like to give people bad names, but because they're being caught cheating the system, that's why HMC informed the public that we have revoked the certification, yeah? Because they are not providing all HMC products, yeah?
No one's forcing any outlet to become HMC.
Yeah, they become
so
HMC.
why sign up and then lie? it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, correct. Moving on. What are the problems with the generic halal sign? Yeah. Now, like what I mentioned at the beginning, halal sign is probably one of the most abused words in the UK and also across the globe as well. Yeah. Whether it's the UK, whether you go to any other country, especially if you go Saudi, you see everywhere halal, halal, halal. Yeah. And yeah, so I'll try and wrap it up quickly. So now this word, if a person was to, one of our ulama in Preston, Mona Junaid, he mentioned an incident to us, and he said that there was two butchers, yeah, across each other, across the road, a very close proximity. One was a non-Muslim, one was a Muslim, yeah. The Muslim one obviously had the halal sign on it. A few months later, the non-Muslim decided to put a halal sign on his shop. So people started questioning. We go to Ahmad's shop, you're not going to question why we got halal on it. But when you go to David's shop, I asked him, why have you put halal on it? So he said that I buy my products, yeah, from the exact same shop as Ahmad, and everybody goes to his shop, nobody comes to my shop. So I thought, let me put halal as well, so people can't start coming to my shop. This is the reality. It's not fairy tale. This is the reality on the ground. Yeah? That's one reason. Yeah, it's abuse. Secondly, there's multiple understandings. What does one person mean as halal? One person will say it has to be unstunned. One person can say, I don't mind unstunned. Another person will say, if it's mechanically slaughtered, I'll still classify it as halal. We went in 2009 to Florida for Taraweeh, yeah? And we went to, you know how we have our Asda, Sainsbury's here. We went shopping with one of the Arabs there. He was the so-called Imam in the Masjid, Maliki Madhab. He was buying his chicken from the supermarket. Yeah, he's saying, Dhabiha of Ahl Kitab. Yeah, so people have that interpretation as well. Yeah? So, multiple understandings. Yeah? Now, the problem is, there's different types of takeaway owners or butcher owners, and you'll get one type of owner who is, mashallah, practicing, and he genuinely does his due diligence. He will make sure that he provides halal to the community. Yeah? A second person, yeah, he's so-called practicing, yeah, but he likes to play dumb. Yeah? So, he'll say, I don't know, I'm buying it from Ahmad Poultry. He's a Muslim. That's his responsibility. Yeah? I'm getting it from Ahmad Poultry. I don't know how he slaughters it. Yeah? When really he knows what's happening, but he's just playing dumb. Yeah? Because he doesn't want to take the responsibility. He doesn't want to pay extra money from getting from somewhere else. He's getting a good deal here. He'll continue buying from Ahmad Poultry, even though he knows Ahmad Poultry is cutting corners. Yeah? And there's a third person who genuinely doesn't understand the corruption that is happening in the industry. Like I mentioned about that supermarket in Preston, he's buying from Ahmad Bhai in Bolton, he's providing drumsticks, he has no idea where this is coming from. Yeah? So now, the most important thing is that we educate the people. We educate ourselves, we educate the takeaway owners, the restaurant owners, the butchers, that what is their responsibility? Your responsibility isn't just to provide a service. Your responsibility is to ensure you're feeding the Muslim public halal. Yeah? Whether it's a butcher, whether it's a takeaway, whether it's a restaurant. Yeah? And the biggest factor with them is just about money. It's about profit. So now on average, if you're getting chicken fillets for approximately £5–6 from the Muslim slaughterhouses here in Preston or around the UK, and they're getting cheaper imports from Europe, yeah, about £4, £3–4, just even if it's £1, yeah, cheaper. I'll give you an example. And if a butcher is going through 100 fillets, 100 kgs of fillets a day, how much is that? Do the maths, yeah? Just on fillets, it's £100, yeah? Then chicken will be slightly cheaper, 50p cheaper. So they're just thinking about money. But like I said, they're putting the deen on the back burner, and they're putting the financial gains in front of them. That's where the problem is, yeah? So it's all about amana, it's all about trust, it's about importance, that we tell them that money comes secondly, your deen comes first. Okay? Now this, again, Maulana can mention this incident he had with the takeaway owner. I'll just quickly mention it because we're short of time. He went into the takeaway to ask them where do you get your chicken from. They said we buy it from a certain butcher, yeah? And Maulana questioned them, do you know how they do the slaughter method, where the chickens come from? So what they said to them, they started laughing. They said, oh, we don't know, that's not our responsibility. We buy it from a butcher. Yeah, on the day of judgment, we'll just put them forward. Yeah, they have the audacity to say that, yeah? Yeah? It's something along those lines, isn't it, Mona? That's what they said.
Yeah, no, he was a young lad. You know, he's in a very playful mood. It was a Friday night, and I just asked him, you know, the certificate that you have, or who are your suppliers? And then he said, we buy from Nelson. And I said, okay, how long did you buy from Nelson? He said, for 20 years. I said, you know what the method of slaughter is? He said, that's not my problem. They told me it's halal and they're Muslim. I said, okay, for argument's sake, let's just say they were haram, but they were lying to you and they were saying it's halal. Do you still think it's your responsibility? He said, no, it's not my responsibility. And I'm saying to him, I don't think it works that way. You still have to do due diligence. You'll be questioned with regards to what's within your capability. Yeah? Allah is only going to question with regards to what is within our kind of capability. And then I said to him, do you not think it'd be a question for on the day of judgment? And he said, no, you know, it's not my problem, it's his problem. So there's just lack of accountability, a very relaxed attitude, and it's something that needs to change. So,
Okay, so very quickly, one more first-hand experience we had. Maulana, a very popular takeaway in Preston, very busy. Maulana approached them in late 2024, and they said, we buy from Ghafoor. Yeah, mashallah, Ghafoor is a big poultry in Preston, processes approximately 1.1 million chickens a week. Yeah. So, like I say, everybody hides behind Ghafoor. Yeah. So then we contacted one brother from Ghafoor Poultry, who does the distribution for the takeaways and the butchers. And he told Maulana that, yeah, I know these youngsters, very good lads, but they only buy approximately 2 boxes of fillets a week from me. Yeah, now I did the calculation, yeah, they probably go through at least 1 box of fillets a day. Yeah, very, very busy takeaway. Yeah, Chilo, they might go through a box in 2 days. Yeah, there's no way they're going to go through the 2 boxes and they're going to last them a whole week. Yeah, and he said, I know the other suppliers. Yeah, the brother from Ghafoor said, I know the other suppliers. They also buy from X, Y, and Z as well. They only buy a portion of their products from us. To verify that, I rang the same takeaway today. Yeah? Today. I rang them today afternoon. And I asked them, you know, do you sell this burger? Yes, we do. Where do you get your chicken from? So first he said, yeah, he said, we get it from a local supplier. I said, okay, who are your local suppliers? I know this supermarket, I know this supermarket. Yeah, he said, I get it from Ghafoor. I said, okay, I've heard of Ghafoor. Yeah? And that's it. And I just said, okay, no, jazakallah. I said, I might come down later. And I just put the phone down. Yeah? I rang the same person, yeah, who does the distribution from Ghafoor to the takeaways and the butchers. Yeah? I said, Kamcho, you everything, mashallah, I spoke to him quite a while. I said, I rang this takeaway and they're saying that they buy from Ghafoor. He said, I've warned them previously. They take our name, yeah? I go to him exactly how much they buy from you, yeah? He said they buy 2 boxes, which is approximately 30 kgs of fillets. Yeah? 30 kgs of fillets. Yeah? That's probably about 100 burgers. Yeah? That takeaway probably goes through at least 50 burgers a day, if not more. So that's probably 1 or 2 days of supply. He goes, every now and then they buy some wings from us when they're on short on their supply. Yeah? And what did they do? If you were to walk into that takeaway, they're going to tell you, we buy from Ghafoor. They're trying to convince you that we buy from a Muslim supplier in Preston. But they're not going to tell you that we only buy 20% of our stock from there. We only buy 30% of our stock there. Yeah? So what they're doing, they're embellishing the truth. They're basically covering up, you know, with lies. Okay, now very quickly, moving on. Also some other things which we discovered is that Qurbani meat, yeah, and this is the benefit of HMC. Yeah? This is the benefit, yeah? They will make sure that your ibadah is done. Qurbani is an ibadah. Yeah? Now you give your order to the butcher. Yeah? You're giving him whatever. What is it? £200 now? £210 for a lamb, whatever it is. Yeah? How do you know your Qurbani is done? There's conditions. It has to be done on the day of Eid. It has to be done after the Eid namaz. It's got to be done by a Muslim slaughterman. X, Y, and Z. Who's going to check if your Qurbani is done? Yeah? It's organizations like HMC. They do thorough checks to ensure that your Qurbani is done. Your ibadah is counted. Yeah? And going back to the main point, yeah? We see as the ummah, yeah? We see as the ummah yeah, we're just going to finish off here, yeah, that we see as the ummah, yeah, the conditions that we are facing. Yeah, so many umrahs being done, so much hajj, we're making so much dua, Ramzan is coming, we're going to do so much ibadah, yeah, yet why do we think our duas are going unanswered? Yeah, why are our duas going unanswered? Yeah, one of the reasons is our source of income is not halal, yeah, but also what we are consuming. Yeah, what I tell people, you go for umrah, you go to the most blessed places, you make so much sacrifice, you spend so much money, but just a bit of carelessness because you want to eat nice food, you want to be careless, yeah, you just see from anywhere and everywhere. Yeah, that's a different topic altogether. Yeah, the food that comes in Saudi Arabia, especially in Mecca and Medina, yeah, just because, yeah, and one very ignorant answer that I received from a very close family member, yeah, he said, oh, it's Haramain, it's a blessed place, the Muslims, it has to be halal, yeah. In the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were 360 idols in Kaaba. Does that make it fine? No, that doesn't make it fine. That's ignorance. I speak. Yeah? You have to be ignorant to have those kind of statements. Yeah? So the message for today is that we need to wake up. Yeah? We need to wake up from our ignorance and ask serious questions at what we are eating, because what you eat is what you are. Yeah? Now, very quickly, I'll just mention this last 2 minutes, inshallah. I don't think we have time for this. Yeah? Whatever a person eats, yeah, is going to become his blood, it's going to become his gosh, it's going to become himself. And that is what will come out of a person. Yeah? Now, if you look at swine, if you look at a pig, yeah, it's the most behaya, how do you say in English? Most filthy, most
without shame.
Huh?
Shameless.
Most shameless animal that you will see. Yeah? And when a person eats this animal, then you will see the actions that people do. Just understand, in simple. You understand why people do these actions that they do is because of what they eat. Yeah? That's why they're able to do these kind of actions, is because of what they eat. Yeah? Because what they have eaten has made them do those actions. In the same way, if we eat pure halal tayyib, then inshallah our bodies will incline towards good. Yeah? Then we'll want to do the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? Then waking up for Fajr will become easy for us. Then coming to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will become easy for us. Yeah? But if we eat food that's first of all not halal, or we eat food that's doubtful, or we eat food that's been processed in an environment of just negligence, not even halal or haram, a food that's been cooked in an environment of negligence, the people listen to music, the people, don't pray the namaz. You eat that food, automatically you realize the next day that your tabiat will not go towards goodness. Yeah? This is the direct effect of food. Now, when a person goes into a takeaway, yeah, you don't just ask, are you halal? Yeah? Because like I said, the problem with asking, are you halal, is that if you were to ask the person, the Maliki Imam that was with us in the superstore in 2009, he's going to say, yeah, just go to Azda, and that's the zabih of Ahl Kitab is halal. Yeah, and none of us will agree with that, will we? Yeah? So if you ask, are you halal, you're asking the wrong question. You need to ask, yeah, the chicken and the meat you are providing, what method has been used to slaughter it? Yeah? And do you get it, how many places do you get your meat from? Do you just get it from one place? Do you get it from 2 places? Do you get it from 5 places? That's what you need to ask. Yeah? If your products are bought from a place that do stunning method, what is ensured to make sure that these animals don't die before they're slaughtered? And halal certification. The khulasa is, the total summary is that without certification, without doing due diligence, you cannot be sure that what you're eating is halal. Yeah? Now, I know I've said this many times, I'm going to wrap it up on this one point, yeah? One person said to me, yeah, I gave him an example, when it comes to our worldly matters, yeah, we are very careful, yeah? Now, if somebody wants to buy a car, yeah, I know this is a very expensive example, yeah, are you just going to buy a car, you're going to go outside, you see a car, are you just going to buy it straight away? Yeah? No. What are you going to do? You're going to do some research, isn't it? You're going to ask a person who does car dealership, Garita is for £5,000. Is it worth £5,000? Yeah? This car's done 100,000 miles. Do you think it's worth buying? Yeah, it's still worth buying. Yeah? You're going to go do a HPI check. Yeah? Even though you're buying from a person who you know. Yeah? So one of my friends said, he goes, oh, Maulana, that's £5,000 car. Are you talking about a £5 burger here? Yeah? So I said, no, you've got it wrong. You've got it wrong. That's £5,000 car, £5,000 of the dunya. You can lose, you can gain that back. If you eat something haram, the spirituality that you lose, you're not going to be able to gain that back. You go to Haramain, you can eat haram food, yeah? Your ibadah is not going to be counted. Your du'as are not going to be counted. I was in Jamaat 2 years ago in Coventry, and one brother sat with me for half an hour, 45 minutes. Look, brother, he goes, Maulana, I've been making dua, I make dua, I wake up for tahajjud, I make dua after farz namaz, I've kept fast, I've done this. My duas are not getting accepted. Yeah, obviously there's so many reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might not accept our dua. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala delays it. Yeah, for whatever wisdom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save us from a musibah. But one of the biggest reasons, one of the biggest barriers that our duas being accepted is a person consumes haram. Yeah? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the true understanding, give us the ability to eat halal, consume halal, and also, yeah, it's our responsibility as men, as the breadwinners of the house, we have the say in the house at the end of the day. Yeah? We should ensure the food that is coming in our homes is halal. Yeah, we're responsible. Yeah? We're responsible for our wives, for our children, what they're eating. Yeah? If they were to have some worldly harm, we're going to stop them, isn't it? If they were to do any worldly harm, we're going to stop them. We're going to make sure they don't make that worldly harm. They're going to have spiritual harm, we should be worried. Yeah? Mufti Muhammad Shafi Sahib rahmatullah has explained, yeah, that the Quran commands, that the Quran command permits halal and forbids haram because haram food nurtures negative instincts, like the example of swine. Yeah? These people that eat swine, look at the actions. Yeah? Weakens one's motivation for worship. You don't like coming to the masjid. Why? You're absolutely free. You live right next to the masjid. What is inside you that's stopping you? It's the food that you've eaten. Yeah? And because becomes a cause of du'as and good deeds not being accepted. So now the reflection is, yeah, is a moment of enjoyment worth compromising one's hereafter for something as temporary as a favorite meal? Yeah? Just because you like that favorite burger, yeah, is it worth sacrificing your spirituality of your namaz? Is it worth sacrificing your du'as? Is it worth sacrificing your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just because you don't want to let go of that favorite food? Yeah? Especially in the month of Ramadan. Yeah? You've been fasting the whole day. Yeah? We wake up for tahajjud to make dua, we pray tarawih, we pray Quran. Yeah? Don't let it go to waste because of carelessness. Yeah? And one thing which is very important, which I will mention, yeah, inshallah, I promise this will be the last thing, yeah, is that many a times a person says that it's not my fault. Moro wak na do. Meta ina puichu, joyu ke halal cha. I rang everything, yeah, but in the end it still turned out to be haram. Yeah? So yes, you might not be sinful, but the effect of that food will still have an effect on your spirituality. And a very simple example of that is a person has 2 bottles, yeah? 1 bottle of medicine, 1 bottle of poison, yeah? They both look exactly the same. You pick up the bottle of poison, drink it with the intention of medicine. Are you going to say that poison is not going to have effect on you? You never drank it with the intention of poison. You drank it with the intention of medicine. But because you drank the wrong thing, because you ate the wrong thing, that's going to have an effect on you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tawfiq to act upon what has been said. Ameen wa akhiru da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Jazakallah for everyone for attending and sitting and trying to understand. The important thing is now you try and enhance on what you've learned, pass it on to others, and practically implement it.
If everyone can take their phones out as well. And
yeah, if you want to scan this,
scan
inshallah,
the
you can
barcode.
follow the Instagram page, the WhatsApp group, inshallah, very beneficial, inshallah.
And if you have any ideas with regards to creating content, which is a headache, then please feel free to do so. But again, Jazakumullah khairan for Maulana and his inspirational words. And again, just to summarize what's being said, do your due diligence. It affects your spirituality. Educate yourself with the corruption in the food industry. Educate yourself with the methods of slaughter, and start asking more questions. The voice of the consumer is so powerful. If 10 people go into a takeaway and ask certain questions, the takeaway owner is going to think differently. They think, oh, I can't get away with murder here. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept this gathering and accept your sitting today, and give us all the guidance and hidayah with regards to eating halal food. Can you end it with a dua, Maulana?
Make a short dua, inshallah. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكون من الخاسرين. اللهم ثبتنا على الإيمان وأمتنا على الإيمان واحشرنا يوم القيامة مع المتقين مع الإيمان. فاطر السماوات والأرض أنت ولينا في الدنيا والآخرة. توفنا مسلمين والحقنا بالصالحين غير خزايا ولا ندامى ولا مفتونين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه، وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم إن قلوبنا ونواصينا وجوارحنا بيدك لم تملكنا منها شيئا، فإذا فعلت ذلك بنا فكن أنت ولينا واهدنا إلى سواء السبيل. اللهم أقبل بقلوبنا إلى دينك. اللهم أقبل بقلوب جميع المسلمين إلى دينك. اللهم أقبل بقلوبنا إلى طاعتك. اللهم اغفر أمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم ارحم أمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم أصلح أمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم نفس عن كرب أمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك من نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذك من نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. O Allah, whatever we have heard in this program, O Allah, whatever we have said, O Allah, accept this from us, O Allah, accept our sitting, Ya Allah. O Allah, give us the ability to consume halal, Ya Allah. Give us the understanding of consuming halal. O Allah, give guidance to the ummah, Ya Allah. O Allah, give guidance to the ummah, Ya Allah. O Allah, protect us from haram, Ya Allah. O Allah, protect us from the haram morsel, Ya Allah. O Allah, protect us, protect our families, protect the ummah from consuming haram, Ya Allah, from feeding haram to others. O Allah, grant guidance to the ummah, Ya Allah. O Allah, grant us the blessings of the month of Ramadan, Ya Allah. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen.